right, grade 5. Today we're going to talk about place value up to now the 10 millions place. When we talk about place value has something called symmetry. What that means is there's a pattern going in both directions, really. So you'll see there's a pattern to the right and to the left, and that pattern is repeated. It's symmetrical. Both sides are essentially the same. So place value symmetry extends infinitely to the left and to the right of the ones place. So the ones place is kind of our beginning, and then it continues in the same pattern on both sides continuously. When we talk about the place value system that we have, every place value to the left is 10 times bigger. So the ones, the tens is 10 times bigger, the hundreds is 10 times bigger than the tens, the thousands is 10 times bigger than the hundreds, and so on. And every place value to the right is 10 times smaller. So the tenths is 10 times smaller than the ones is 10 times smaller than the tens, and so on. And that continues throughout our place value system, no matter how large it gets. And this again just shows you that relationship that each time it's 10 times more, right? So in fact, when we look at the ones to the hundreds, it's 100 times more. If we were to look to the tens, from the tens to the thousands, it's 100 times more, because 10 times 10 is in fact 100. So there's a direct relationship between all of our place value positions using that times 10 pattern throughout. So when we talk about place value, we have something called a place value chart. And it's a very effective tool for telling the place value positions of numbers and trying to understand what the place value of, or the value of each place is. So when we create a place value chart, we always start with the ones, the tens, the hundreds, and again we have that pattern. So this really would be the 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s, 1 millions if we continue that ones, tens, hundreds pattern. When we have a place value chart, in fact, we always group our sets of 3 into what's called a period. So this is in fact the units period, 263. 287 is all in the thousands period. And then the millions would actually have, going in the other direction here, it would have a 10 million and 100 million, and then we could go on to the billions and so on. So the place of a digit in a place value chart tells you the value of that digit. So this 3 is in the ones place. The value is only a 3. This 6 is in the tens place. That means the value of it now is 60 because it's 6 times 10, because it's in the tens place. And it continues. The value of the 2 is in the hundreds place, so it's 200, and so on. So the 3 here is in the millions place, so it has a value of 3 million. Altogether, this makes one large number. And when it's written like that, it's very difficult to read. So in fact, you would read it as 3,287,263. So in Canada, we use spaces to indicate our period. So this space means everything in front of this was in the millions period, This space tells us that all of these 3 digits are in the thousands period. There is no space at the end, but these are all in the units period. And when we say them with that name. So 3 million 287 as a whole number, and then we say the 1,000 for the thousands period, and then again the 263 together. So again, that would be 3,287,263. So now you're going to copy these notes down so that you have this information in your notes. What we're copying here is the place value chart as a way to represent and understand numbers, keeping in mind that the numbers are grouped into periods. So if this were my number, 42,783,089, the 089, in fact, the zero is necessary to hold the hundreds place, is in the units period. The 783 is in the thousands period, and the 42 is in the millions period. Then you're going to create a place value chart so that you're familiar with how to do that. You are going to want to remember there is that pattern of the hundreds, tens, ones, hundreds, tens, ones, hundreds, tens, ones. And in order to show this, in this case, this place value chart has units, hundreds, tens, ones, thousands, the thousands period, so that would mean 100,000s, 10,000, 1,000, the millions period, so that would mean 100 millions, 10 millions, 1 millions, and so on. So in this case, because our number begins in the millions place, we would start with the millions ones place, 3, and then the thousands period has the 572, and the units period has the 483. Or you could do your place value chart like this. Oh, you don't need this. This should actually be ones. Sorry about that. So we would have the ones place, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. And again, I probably would highlight these periods a little bit, make this a heavier line or something like that. So we have the ones, tens, hundreds, the thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, the millions, the 10 millions, the 100 millions. You could also call this the 1 millions or the 1,000s, just to help you see that ones, tens, hundreds pattern. And if you write your place value chart this way, again, same idea. If I was working with this number again, I would put in my 3 in the millions place, 572 in the thousands period, and oops, that's supposed to be a 4. One moment. 483 in the units period. Press pause and copy if you haven't copied before we continued the video. All right, now it's your turn. With your group, you're going to need to label the place value chart. By labeling it yourself, you get used to what the place value positions are called and naming them appropriately. Now, rather than drawing multiple place value charts, I always like to do it in one place value chart and then just add rows to make it easier. I always just make sure I look at which is the largest digit so I know how big my place value chart needs to go. So go ahead and press pause, complete this with your group, and when you think you are done, unpause and you will have your answers. Go ahead. All right, let's see how you did. So if you went ahead and completed as you were supposed to, I would go my place value positions, of course, need to label my chart. So ones, tens, hundreds. I like to include the ones because I like that pattern, keeping that in mind. 1,000, this is now my thousands period. 10,000, 100,000. I always like to turn my page to write these if that's helpful for you. Sorry, my page flipped there. I don't know if you'll see that in the video or not. On to the millions. I'm going to go 1 million. And I see my largest number is 10 million. But I only have one more column, and I don't like having a column not done. So I'm going to add in my 100 million. Why not? All right, now I'm going to look at my first number. Sometimes I start with the largest number, but actually most of the time I start with the smallest period. So 246 is in the units period, 785 in the thousands period, which means I have 3 in the millions place, the 1 million. And that's my place value chart position for that number. And then I would continue. Again, I can see that my largest digit there is that 8. Because it's in the 8 millions place. I'm going to start again with my last period, 768 in the units period, 54 in the thousands period. I do need to make sure to include my 0. It is a placeholder, so I do need to make sure to include that. And then the millions was an 8. Ooh, that's a horrible looking 8. Let's fix that. 8. There we go. And then I go on to my next number. It's quite a bit smaller. So again, I'm going to put my 306 in my units period, 28 in the thousands period. So now I can see, okay, this is 28,306. Some people are tempted to say and when there's a 0, 306. Be careful not to do that. And in fact means that there is a decimal and there is no decimal in this number. All right, last one, we have a large digit here. Again, I'm going to start with my units period. 563 is in the units period. 19 is in the thousands period. I do need my placeholder. And then 14 is in my millions period. So that means I'm going to read this number as 14,19,563. All right, again, in your group, you're going to try that one more time, now without, perhaps independently with your group. Do it independently first, then compare with your group, would be my suggestion in this case. And again, make sure you label your place value chart. Go ahead, press pause and do that now. All right, again, let's take a look. Going a little faster this time with less explanation because it's your second time around. Ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s. Ooh, I'm out of my box a little bit, that's okay. 1 million, I'm going to layer up here so I don't have that problem again. 10 million and 100 million, because why not? Oh, actually, no, I don't go to 100 million. That's okay. All right, and again, you're going to put your numbers into the place value chart. 607 in the units period, 512 in the thousands period, and 3 in the millions period. So 3,512,607 would be our A number. B, 207 in the units period, 453 in the thousands period, so 453,207. And C, 906 in the units period, 732 in the thousands period, 732,906. And our last one, 235 in the units period, 401 in the thousands period. So 401,235. All right, again, you're going to do some copying so you have some notes. Now we're going to talk about writing numbers in standard form. So when you first see standard form, you might be like, what's that? But here's your hint. Standard form is just the fancy mathematical way of saying number form. You will need to be familiar with that. Questions might ask you to write a number in standard form. You will need to know that that means number form. So here's our digit. 49,672,508. So in Canada, we use spaces, not commas, between our periods. So make sure when you're writing your numbers, this is what they're expected to look like. They're expected to have those spaces there, not commas. Otherwise, they are not correct in the Canadian fashion. Keep in mind, only the period farthest to the left can have less than 3 digits. All others need 3 digits. Sometimes there is a 0 as a placeholder, but it will need to have 3 digits. Now we're going to pause after you've done your copying, and we're going to ask you to write these numbers in standard form. So go ahead and hit pause. Write these numbers in standard form. Remember, standard form means in number form. Go ahead and do that now. All right, let's see how you did. 956,000. So again, this word is a big clue. That tells us that set of digits is in the thousands period. So that means I'm going to have 956 in my thousands period. So to make it in my thousands period, that means I have to add 3 zeros into my units period. Again here, we see the words million and 1,000. Those are going to be important. So that here tells me 63 is in the millions period. Okay, 63 space. 342 is in the thousands period. 342 thousands period. And then that means 529 is in the units period. Now keep in mind, when we write those spaces, we do not want them to be gigantic so that this looks like 3 separate numbers, nor do we want them to be so tiny that they're very difficult to tell that they are in fact spaces. So I like to always put in a finger space in between each, because neither of those are clearly written, and we want to always seek to be understood. All right, now that we've done it sort of together, do it with your groups again. This time do it independently and then share with your group members afterwards and see how you did. Press pause and do those now. All right, let's see how you did. So again, this 1,000 word, really important, tells us what's in that period. So the 7 is in the thousands period. So 7, 957 is in my units period. And so my number would just be 7,957. Next one, I have a million and I have 1,000, and then of course I have my units. So what's in my million? 500 million. Okay, so 500 in my millions period. Space. 463,000, so that means 463 is in my thousands period. And lastly, in my units period, I have 740. And then our last one, again, looking for those keywords, million, thousand. And of course, we have our units period. We always have to start with our units period. So again, in the millions period, we would have 93, space, 87 in our thousands period. Now, this one's a little tricky. To make it 87, we actually need the 0 in the hundred thousands place because it doesn't say anything hundred. So 087 in the thousands period, and then 653. All right, and again, you're going to do some copying. Last way that we're going to worry about for writing numbers is to write them in word form. So word form can be a little bit tricky. So we're working with the number 42,567,983. So again, the 42 comes first, 42, and then we always say the name of the period that those digits are in. So they're in the millions period. Then in Canada, this is where we use commas. We use commas here to show that that is the end of that period. So we have 42 million in that period with a comma. Then we go on to our next period, 567. So we write our 567. And then again, we need the name of that period. Well, that is the thousands period. We're moving on to the next period. So again, we need a comma. And then finally, we're finishing off with 983. And we just finish off with 983. Now you'll notice some of these words have hyphens. A hyphen is always in place where there is a number between 20 and 99. That is 2 words. Then we need a hyphen. Okay, so again, the comma shows where the space would be between the periods. The period's name, such as million or thousand, comes after each period except for the units period. We do not say units at the end of a number. Those numbers, 20 to 99, that are 2 words, do need that hyphen, so that's that little dash. So for example, 67. And means decimal in word form, and we only use it if there is a decimal. If there is no decimal, there should be no and. All right, and here's a number for you to go ahead and try with your group. Go ahead and press pause. Try writing that number in word form. All right, let's see how it went. So we have 3 periods. So again, I know this is in the millions period, so I'm going to write the word 6 million. That's the end of that period, so I need a comma. Then I have 401. So 401. No and, there's no decimal. Again, that's in the thousands period, so I'm going to write the word thousand. That's the end of that period, so I need a comma. And then my last grouping, 235. 35 is a 2-word number, so it needs that hyphen. So again, 6 million, comma, 401,000, comma, 235. All right, now it's your turn again. This time, do this one independently and then share with your group members, see if you've got it correct. And if you're finished early or once you're all done, you're going to try this mystery number clue. See if you can use these clues to figure out what the mystery number might be. So press pause and try those numbers in word form and your mystery number. Go ahead and go do that now. All right, let's see how you did. So again, we have 3 periods. So again, that means I'm going to be in the millions period. So I'm going to start with 44. Oops, that's not right. $44, that is a 2-digit word, so 44 million, comma, 869 together, so 800, oh gosh, I did not leave myself enough room. 1 second. Okay, writing far too big there, so let's rewrite that here. 44 million, comma, 869. That needs a hyphen. 1,000, comma, 101. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Looks pretty big. Again, it looks like it's in the millions. Just 30 million, comma. Notice this does have the commas. This is not the correct way to write it, but you will have to be able to read it this way, so it's included. In our next period, we have 671, and that's in the thousands. So 671, two-word number needs the hyphen. That was in the thousands period, needs the thousands, comma, and then just 200. Last one, let me just insert a square here so that we have a place to write, and then I can move that again after. Again, it's in the millions period. So, and it needs to be a word, not a number. 8 million, comma, end of that period. 461, again, that's a two-word number, needs to have the hyphen. Thousands, because it's in the thousands period, comma, and then we're left with our last period, 203. All right, now let's see if I can just move that square, that shape out of the way. Oh, I'm going to pause for a second and figure this out. All right, so I had to fix that a little bit. We're looking at our mystery number now. So we need to use these clues to figure out what our numbers can be. So just taking a quick note, okay, we've got millions. So our number is going to go into the millions place. So I'm just going to make myself a little thing here. There's my millions. Here's my thousands period, and here's my units period. You could do this right in a place value and then have those headings to help as well. So it looks like it has a 2 in the millions place. Now it says double the number of hundred thousands, then millions. So that means that the millions, double the number of hundred thousands, then the millions. Colton's number has 2 millions, and double the number of hundred thousands, then millions. So that means the hundred thousands are double what the millions are. If the millions are 2, well, what's double of 2? Well, it is 4, so that means 4 is going to be in the hundred thousands place. Double the number of the ones, then hundred thousands place. So that means the ones place is going to be double. Double of 4 is 8. 5 less tens than ones. So there's to be 5 less in the tens place. That would make that 3. 2 more in the 10,000s place than in the tens. So 2 more in the 10,000s place than that's in the tens. So 2 more than 3 would be 5. 5 more thousands than millions. So this was our millions. We're putting a number into the thousands place. 5 more than that. 5 plus 2 is 7. And then 4 less hundreds than thousands. So this is our thousands. We need 4 less than that is 3. So my answer then would be 2,457,338. There we go. All right, now you're going to be moving on to your practice. And your practice in this case is actually going to be sheets that you are given because our textbook did not go into the millions. So you'll be given some sheets to work on.